the disciples had tried casting out a devil from this boy, and they tried and tried and tried, but couldn't. So when Jesus arrives, this man now says, oh, there is someone with greater power. Let me go to him so that he would help me. So he goes to Jesus and says, this is what happened. Now verse 17, then Jesus answered and said, oh, faithless and perverse generation. Bear this in mind. Faithless. In other words, someone without faith at all, zero faith. Remember what he told the disciples. You have little faith and that is enough. Now he's telling someone else, you do not have faith at all. O faithless and perverse generation, how long shall I be with you? If Jesus is asking this, he's implying, I shouldn't be doing this for you all the time. How long shall I be with you? How long shall I bear with you? Bring him here to me. And Jesus rebuked the demon, and it came out of him, and the child was cured from that very hour. So the same thing that the disciples wanted to achieve, that they couldn't, Jesus comes and does the exact same thing they were trying to do. He commands the devil out of him, and immediately the boy is healed. Okay, verse 19. Then the disciples came to Jesus privately and said, why could we not cast it out? Now this is a question to you. Does their failure mean they did not have faith? No. Jesus did not tell the disciples or say to the disciples, oh, faithless and perverse generation. He rather said to the man who brought his child for healing, he told him, oh, faithless and perverse generation. So bear that in mind. Now the disciples are now asking, why couldn't we do this one? We've been doing it all the time, but why have we failed over here? Verse 20. So Jesus said to them, because of your unbelief. For assuredly, I say to you, if you have faith as a mustard seed, you will say to this mountain, move from here to there, and it will move, and nothing will be impossible for you. Bear in mind, because of your unbelief. This same Jesus previously told the disciples, you don't need to increase your faith. You have enough faith to move mulberry trees by speaking. Over here, he is saying, because of your unbelief. And then he's saying, if you have faith as a mustard seed, remember, 2,000 grains of mustard seed can be on a teaspoon at a time. 2,000. It means it's very, 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 very tiny. And he's saying, if you have faith as little as that, you can do the impossible. You can move this particular mountain from here to there. Now, verse 21, he says, however, this kind does not go out except by prayer and fasting. However, this kind does not go out except by prayer and fasting. So, Jesus Christ is saying, unbelief does not enable you to cast out demons. However, when it comes to this particular one, it is not just about unbelief, but it is about fasting and prayers. This kind, so there are many other kinds that go out without fasting and prayers, but this particular kind. So in other words, Jesus Christ is not saying that the disciples did not necessarily have faith, but he made it clear that the man who brought his child for healing, he was faithless. He did not have faith. What was the difference between the disciples and the man who brought his son for healing? The answer is in what Jesus said as his explanation for the disciples not being able to do that. He said, for assuredly, I say to you, if you have faith as a mustard seed, if you have faith, you will say to this mountain, if you have faith, you will say. Before Jesus Christ came, the disciples were saying, but the father of the child who needed deliverance was not saying. He was not commanding the demons, but the disciples were commanding